Betrayal hurts most when it comes from someone you never thought you had to protect yourself from. A stranger can insult you, and by tomorrow you may forget their words. But when someone you trusted lies to you, when someone you defended turns against you, when someone who knew your heart chooses to wound it, the pain reaches somewhere deeper, and suddenly the questions begin. How could they do this to me? Was any of it real? Why didn't I see it sooner? Should I confront them? Should I make them feel what they made me feel? But the Stoics would ask you a different question. What will you allow their betrayal to turn you into? Because what they did belongs to them. What you become afterward belongs to you, and that distinction can save you from years of bitterness. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by ambition, deception, political rivalry, and people whose loyalty could change whenever power changed hands. Yet his philosophy continually returned to one principle: do not surrender the rule of your own mind. Someone may betray your trust, but they do not automatically gain the power to destroy your peace. They only gain that power when their actions begin controlling your thoughts, your character, and the way you live. So if someone has betrayed you, do not rush to revenge. Do not rush to prove yourself. Do not rush to make them understand what they lost. Sit quietly with what happened. See it clearly. And remember, you do not heal betrayal by becoming like the person who betrayed you. You heal by refusing to abandon yourself. There is a strange temptation after betrayal. You want answers. You replay conversations. You search old messages. You remember moments that once seemed innocent and examine them again with new eyes. You ask yourself where everything changed. Perhaps you think that if you can understand every detail, the pain will finally disappear. But sometimes there is no answer that will satisfy you. Sometimes the answer is simply that human beings are imperfect. People act from fear, from selfishness, from insecurity, from desire, from weakness, from impulses they themselves barely understand. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to expect human beings to behave according to their character, not because harmful behavior should be excused, but because expecting imperfect people to always behave perfectly is a recipe for disappointment. This is one of the hardest Stoic lessons. Accepting reality does not mean approving of it. You can accept that someone betrayed you while still deciding they no longer deserve access to your life. You can understand someone's weakness without volunteering to suffer from it again. You can forgive without returning. You can release anger without rebuilding trust. And you can walk away without hatred. That is strength. Betrayal often creates two wounds. The first is what they did. The second is what you repeatedly do to yourself afterward. You replay it. You imagine different outcomes. You create conversations in your mind where you finally say the perfect words. You imagine them regretting everything. You wonder whether they miss you, whether they feel guilty, whether karma will find them. And without realizing it, the person who betrayed you is still occupying your mind. They may have left your life, but you are still carrying them everywhere. This is where Stoicism becomes practical. Ask yourself, is this thought useful? Can thinking about this for the 100th time change what happened? Can anger rewrite yesterday? Can revenge restore trust? Can obsession return the peace you lost? If not, release the thought. Because letting go is rarely a single decision. It is a decision you may have to make every morning, every night, every time the memory returns. You tell yourself, it happened, I learned. And now I return to what is mine to control: your mind, your actions, your boundaries, your future, your character. These belong to you, their choices do not. And this is where your power begins returning. You stop asking, why did they do this? And start asking, what is the wisest thing I can do now? Maybe the wisest thing is distance. Maybe it is silence. Maybe it is one honest conversation. Maybe it is forgiveness without reconciliation. Maybe it is simply accepting that the person you believed they were was not the person standing before you. Whatever you choose, choose from clarity, not rage, because anger loves immediate action. Wisdom can wait. You do not have to respond while your emotions are burning. You do not have to send the message tonight. You do not have to expose them. You do not have to defend yourself to everyone who heard their version of the story. Sometimes the most powerful response is to let time reveal what arguments never could. Character eventually speaks. Patterns eventually become visible. Truth does not always need you to chase people with it. So protect your dignity. Let your actions remain disciplined even when theirs were not. But there is another danger after betrayal. You may begin distrusting everyone. One person lies to you, and suddenly every kind person looks suspicious. One person breaks your trust, and suddenly vulnerability feels foolish. You build walls, you call it strength. But sometimes those walls are simply pain-wearing armor. Stoicism does not teach you to become cold. It teaches you to become discerning. There is a difference. Coldness says, "I will never trust anyone again." Wisdom says, "Trust will be earned slowly." Coldness says, "I will never care deeply again." Wisdom says, "I will care without abandoning my judgment." Coldness says, "Everyone will eventually betray me." Wisdom says, "Some people may disappoint me, but I will not let fear decide how I see all humanity." Do not let one person's lack of character corrupt yours. If you were loyal, remain loyal. If you were honest, remain honest. If you loved sincerely, do not become ashamed of that. Their betrayal does not make your sincerity foolish. It reveals the difference between your character and theirs. And perhaps that is one of the deepest lessons betrayal can teach. You cannot control whether others deserve your goodness. You can only control whether their behavior causes you to lose it. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly returned to the idea that the best response to wrongdoing is not to imitate the wrongdoer. Think about how powerful that is. Someone lies to you. You don't need to become deceptive. Someone disrespects you. You don't need to become cruel. Someone abandons you. You don't need to become bitter. Someone betrays you. You don't need revenge to prove that you mattered. Your victory is not their suffering. Your victory is your freedom. The day you can remember what happened without feeling the need to punish them, you are becoming free. The day you stop checking whether life has punished them, you are becoming free. The day their name no longer changes your emotional state, you are becoming free. And one day, perhaps unexpectedly, you will realize something. You haven't thought about them all day, then perhaps several days, then weeks, and the wound that once seemed enormous becomes something smaller. Not forgotten, not erased, but understood. A lesson, a chapter, something that happened to you but no longer defines you. So if you have been betrayed, remember this. Do not beg for explanations from someone committed to misunderstanding your pain. Do not chase loyalty from someone who already showed you where theirs ends. Do not destroy your dignity trying to make someone regret losing you. And above all, do not betray yourself because someone betrayed you first. Keep your standards, keep your discipline, keep your character. Learn what needs to be learned. Strengthen the boundaries that need strengthening. Then continue forward, quietly. You don't need revenge. You don't need everyone to know your side. You don't need the person who hurt you to admit they were wrong before you are allowed to heal. Closure does not always arrive as an apology. Sometimes closure is simply seeing the truth and no longer arguing with it. They showed you something. Believe what you saw, learn from it, and continue. Because your life is too valuable to spend staring backward at someone who chose not to walk beside you with integrity. Let them carry the consequences of their character. You carry yours. And when the memory returns, remind yourself, what happened is outside my control. What I become because of it is not. That is the Stoic response to betrayal. Not revenge, not hatred, not weakness, but clarity. Distance when necessary, forgiveness when possible, boundaries always, and the quiet decision to remain the master of your own mind. Because the deepest victory after betrayal is not making them regret what they did. It is reaching the point where you no longer need them to, and perhaps that is where the real work begins. Because walking away from betrayal is one thing, removing it from your mind is another. You can block someone, you can stop speaking to them, you can remove their number, you can avoid the places where you might see them, but none of those things guarantee freedom. Because sometimes the person is gone, yet the conversation continues inside your head. You still imagine what you should have said. You still wonder whether they understand what they did. You still secretly hope they will return one day and admit that they were wrong. And this is where the Stoic path becomes difficult. You must stop waiting for the person who hurt you to participate in your healing. Your peace cannot depend on their apology. Your closure cannot depend on their guilt. Your future cannot remain suspended until they finally understand your value. Perhaps they never will. Perhaps they will justify everything they did. Perhaps they will tell themselves a story in which they were the victim. Perhaps they will move forward without ever giving you the explanation you believe you deserve. Can you still live well? Can you still sleep peacefully? Can you still become who you were meant to become? The Stoic answer is yes, because your peace was never supposed to depend on another person's conscience. There is a misunderstanding about forgiveness. People think forgiveness means allowing someone back into your life. It does not. Forgiveness is about what you stop carrying. Trust is about what someone earns. These are not the same thing. You can forgive someone and still never speak to them again. You can wish them well from a distance. You can release hatred without reopening the door. This is not cruelty, it is judgment. A wise person does not repeatedly place their hand into the same fire and call it compassion. Once you know something burns you, you respect what you have learned. Betrayal should teach you something. Not that everyone is dangerous, not that love is foolish, not that trust is weakness, but that access to your life should mean something. Not everyone deserves the deepest parts of you. Not everyone deserves your secrets, your loyalty, your vulnerability, your endless understanding. Some people belong close, others belong at a distance, and wisdom is learning the difference. After betrayal, revenge can feel like justice. You imagine exposing them, embarrassing them, making them jealous, showing them how successful you became without them. You want them to feel the pain they gave you. For a moment, revenge feels powerful, but look carefully. If your actions are still designed around their reaction, they are still controlling you. If you become successful only so they regret losing you, they are still controlling you. If you post something only because you hope they see it, they are still controlling you. If you enter another relationship simply to make them jealous, they are still controlling you. This is not freedom. Freedom is when they are no longer the audience for your life. Improve because improvement is worthy. Become stronger because strength serves you. Build a peaceful life because peace is good. Succeed because your potential deserves discipline, not because someone from your past needs to witness it. The greatest revenge is not revenge at all. It is indifference born from genuine healing, not pretending you don't care, actually reaching the point where you don't need to. When someone betrays you, you may feel desperate to tell everyone what happened. You want people to know the truth. You fear that the person who hurt you will control the story. Maybe they will. Maybe they will speak first. Maybe they will leave out the parts that make them uncomfortable. Maybe they will describe your reaction while conveniently forgetting what caused it. This can be deeply frustrating. But ask yourself, how much of your life are you willing to sacrifice trying to control other people's opinions? There will always be people who misunderstand you. There will always be people who hear one side and make a judgment. You cannot chase every rumor. You cannot correct every assumption. You cannot stand before the entire world explaining your heart. Sometimes dignity requires silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you know who you are. Let consistency become your defense. Let time reveal patterns. Let your character speak longer than gossip ever could. A lie may travel quickly. Character travels slowly, but character lasts. There is something especially painful that happens after we are betrayed. We become angry at ourselves. How did I not see it? Why did I trust them? Why did I give them another chance? How could I have been so foolish? Be careful. Their betrayal is already painful enough. Do not add self-hatred to it. Perhaps you missed warning signs. Learn from that. Perhaps you ignored your intuition. Remember that next time. Perhaps you trusted too quickly. Become more patient. But do not confuse trusting someone with being stupid. Trust is necessary for every meaningful human relationship. The lesson is not to become incapable of trust. The lesson is to become wiser about where you place it. There is a difference between becoming wiser and becoming afraid. Wisdom observes. Fear assumes. Wisdom takes time. Fear closes every door. Wisdom says, I will watch your actions. Fear says, everyone is the same. Do not let betrayal teach you the wrong lesson. Words are easy. Promises are easy. Apologies are easy. People can tell you they love you. They can tell you they respect you. They can promise loyalty. But character is revealed through repeated action. So stop listening only to what people say. Watch what they repeatedly do. Do their actions match their promises? Do they respect your boundaries when there is nothing to gain? Do they speak well of people who are not in the room? Do they accept responsibility when they are wrong? Do they keep small promises? Because betrayal rarely appears from nowhere. Often there were smaller signs, small dishonesty, small disrespect, small inconsistencies, things you explained away because you wanted to believe the best. Compassion is valuable, but compassion without discernment can become self-neglect. You can understand someone's difficult past without allowing them to create a difficult future for you. One of the strongest things you can learn after betrayal is how to leave without hatred. You don't need to scream, you don't need to insult, you don't need to announce your departure dramatically. Sometimes you simply become unavailable for what you once tolerated. You stop explaining, you stop arguing, you stop returning to conversations that have already shown you their ending. You withdraw your access, quietly. This is not manipulation, it is not a punishment, it is recognition. You have recognized that something is no longer healthy for your character or your peace, and you act accordingly. The Stoic does not need anger to maintain a boundary. A boundary can be calm. A boundary can be compassionate. A boundary can simply say, I understand who you are now, and I will adjust my distance accordingly. There is extraordinary strength in that. Perhaps the hardest consequence of betrayal is not losing another person. It is losing the version of yourself that trusted easily. Afterward, you may feel different, more cautious, more distant, less willing to open yourself. Some of that change may be necessary. Experience should mature you, but do not allow pain to turn wisdom into bitterness. You can become harder to deceive without becoming harder to love. You can become more selective without becoming cruel. You can protect yourself without becoming emotionally unavailable. This balance is difficult, but it matters. Because if someone betrayed you and, as a result, you spend the rest of your life unable to love, trust, or connect, their betrayal took far more from you than one relationship. Do not give them that power. Keep your heart. Add wisdom. Keep your kindness. Add boundaries. Keep your ability to love. Add discernment. You do not need to become colder. You need to become clearer. We sometimes suffer because we believe every meaningful relationship must last forever, but life does not promise that. Some people walk beside you for decades, others for years. Others only long enough to reveal something you needed to learn. Their departure does not mean the entire relationship was meaningless. Even painful relationships can teach you. They teach you what you value, what you will no longer tolerate, where your boundaries were weak, where you abandoned yourself trying to keep someone else, what kind of character you want around you, and what kind of person you want to become. The Stoic does not ask life to preserve everything. The Stoic understands that change is the nature of life. People arrive, people leave. Circumstances change, relationships change, you change. Your task is not to freeze life into the shape you prefer. Your task is to meet change with character. So perhaps the person who betrayed you was not meant to remain beside you forever. Perhaps their role in your story was smaller than you imagined. That does not make the pain unreal, but it means the pain does not have to become permanent. You can honor what you felt, accept what happened, learn what it taught you, and continue walking. Because there is still life beyond this. There are mornings you haven't seen, people you haven't met, conversations you haven't had, places you haven't visited, strength you haven't discovered, peace you haven't experienced. Do not sacrifice all of that to someone who already showed you they were willing to sacrifice you. Your life is still moving. Move with it. And when you feel tempted to look backward, remember, you are not walking away because you hate them. You are walking forward because you respect yourself. You are not becoming silent because you lost the argument. You are becoming silent because your peace no longer needs an audience. You are not releasing revenge because what they did was acceptable. You are releasing revenge because you refuse to let their mistake become your character. Let them live according to their choices. You live according to yours. Let them explain themselves to their own conscience. You answer to yours. And if one day they finally realize what they lost, that realization belongs to them. You do not need to be there to witness it. Your responsibility is elsewhere now. Your responsibility is to your mind, your character, your future, your peace. And perhaps this is the final lesson betrayal offers. Some people hurt you once. Do not spend years continuing their work for them. Put down the anger. Keep the lesson. Release the person, protect the boundary, and continue becoming someone whose peace cannot be stolen so easily. Not because nothing hurts you, but because you have finally learned that even when others fail you, you do not have to fail yourself.